We have a new look on how Americans are feeling about those tariffs, about this trade war, and about the president's handling of it all in his first 6 weeks of this second term. New CNN polling out just this morning showing that Americans are not happy with how President Trump is handling the economy right now, and that's even before the major market sell-off that we've seen this week. But still, on some key issues, he is seeing some of his best numbers of his entire presidential career. Joining us right now, CNN Washington Bureau Chief and Political Director David Chalian. Thanks for waking up early, David. Let's start with the overall approval rating in this moment. Where does it stand for President Trump?
We have President Trump in our brand new poll at 45% approval. This is for his handling of his job overall, 54% disapproval. So upside down, obviously, underwater, Kate. But look at that 45% number over time for Donald Trump. In his entire first term, that was his high water mark that we had in CNN polling. It appeared in 8 years ago, March 2017, around this time in his first time around, and towards the end of his presidency, at the beginning of COVID, would rally around the president moment in May of 2020. That's when he hit 45%. He left office with a 34% approval rating in 2021. So this 45% that he's at right now, that was his actual high water mark last time around.
Yeah, I mean, it's like underwater, but better than he's done. The economy, of course, remains an issue top of mind and of concern for most Americans, likely only getting more top of mind and more of concern. What are Americans saying in this poll about how they think the president is handling all of this, with a relevant note that this poll was conducted, began and ended before the massive stock market sell-off that we've seen this week?
Yes, but not before the chaos we've seen over the last 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And I think that is reflected in the numbers here. You are right. The economy is issue number one by far for Americans, as indicated in this poll. His approval rating on this issue is 44%. Trump's disapproval rating, 56% of Americans disapprove of his handling of the economy. We've never seen him that far underwater and upside down in terms of approval and disapproval on this issue in his entire presidential career. Look here, it's usually a strong suit for him. You see, we've had him at 44% approval before, but never with 56% disapproval. So that 12-point, minus 12-point spread, if you will, that's the largest on issue number one for Americans we've ever had him in our polling.
So how are people feeling more broadly then, not just about the president, his hand, more broadly about the Trump administration so far?
Take a look. You noted at the top, some of his scores on some issues are the best he's ever had. Immigration, he's at majority approval. 51% of Americans approve of what Donald Trump is doing on immigration. He's close to half on managing the federal government and the federal budget. But you see, there's his overall job approval, 45% we were talking about. The economy right there, 44%. Healthcare policy, foreign affairs, and tariffs. Only 39% approve of the way Donald Trump is handling tariffs. We also asked, how are things going in the country today? And take a look, Kate. 35% say well, 65% say badly, but good news for this White House potentially. In January, that 35% number was 29%. So a little bit of an uptick in the last month in the perception of people saying how things are going in the country.
It really is a lot in this poll to consider, and a lot of nuance in how Americans are feeling about their federal government and how they're interacting with it right now. And Trump's handling will be very interesting how President Trump himself interprets this. We have new CNN polling this morning, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. President Trump has a 45% approval rating, a 54% job disapproval. That matches, in terms of approval, that matches his highest rating of his first term. And he's getting big marks in areas like handling of immigration. 51% approve of what he's doing, and that's 7 points higher than any point in his first term. And then, here's the but, then you look at the issue that people care still most about, the economy. 56% disapprove, worse than any point in his first term. If you were still sitting in the White House and you see this, what's your take from this?
I think there's several points to kind of break down. One is that the president's greatest foil has been the Democrats and their ineffectiveness to have a message. And again, when you see like the State of the Union speech and Al Green shaking a cane like an angry old man, I think it gives the president much of an advantage. I think some of those numbers are reflected the fact that he's a tremendous contrast to the Joe Biden presidency. They see an energetic president taking action. I think they elected him on two principal issues, the border and the economy. So the border, I think they like seeing it. I think when Democrats take positions in support of the Columbia University protester, I think it continues to elevate that issue that helps Trump. The economy is a big warning sign. I don't entirely agree with Karen. I think he has more running room because he still has such control over the party, and members are concerned about being primaried if Donald Trump goes against them, and that gives him a lot more latitude. But I do think it's a warning sign because that's what they elected him on in large part, border and the economy. And if they lose confidence in the way he's handling the economy, it's going to continue to drive his numbers down.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this polling number and look at it through the lens of a Democrat, Karen. You see this, and Democrats should take what from it?
They should be on offense on the economy. There is no reason to be hemming and hawing, which we're seeing from some of my Democrats. They need to be on offense. They need to be talking about the fact that, again, this chaos that we're seeing is created by Republicans, created by Trump, created by Musk, or compounded by Musk, and that people are starting to say, hey, this is not what we thought we were getting with this second Trump term. And they need to be bullish about it, and also to stand up to the Republicans and say, we will not accept this CR because you're not being honest with the American people about what it really does. It actually would give more power and authority to Trump and Musk to do more damage, to create more chaos. Not to mention, I'll just say, because I'm here in D.C., the devastating impacts of a $1 billion cut here in Washington, where we already don't have enough police officers and firefighters. So I think there's no reason for them not to stand up today, the Senate. This is for you, Chuck Schumer. And be bullish about the fact that this economic chaos has to stop, and they've got to use the little bit of leverage that they have today to try to do something about it.
Mark Short's thought bubble right now on the CR is like my favorite thing right now. Who gets blamed? I'm sorry, Chris, my EP.
He's like, please, I know.
They take Karen's advice. The Democrats get blamed for a shutdown. That'll be one stopping it.
We'll find out. We may find out soon enough, friends. Karen, it's great to see you, Mark.
Republicans control everything.
Elena Treen is at the White House for us. Elena, economists they're more than alarmed this morning about what this might mean. But the president, how is he reacting, seeing what happened with the markets yesterday and hearing from some of the top economists to say, hey, if this keeps going, we could find ourselves in a recession?
Look, the president seems to be very dug in on tariffs. Not only are we hearing that in some of his public comments, but that's what I'm hearing as well privately in my conversations with White House officials and those close to him advising him on some of this policy. The president really believes that the United States is being taken advantage of, Sarah. He believes that tariffs are a negotiating tactic, and he acknowledges that, obviously, the stock market has been on a downward spiral for the last 2 days. It's really erased all the gains we've seen since the president was elected in November. But he believes that if you stick with him, things will go better moving forward. And he even warned yesterday that tariffs could perhaps go even higher. But I want you to take a listen to what he said about the stock market, as he's really been kind of continuing to brush off some of that sharply, lower numbers that we've been seeing. Take a listen.
Markets are going to go up and they're going to go down.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have to rebuild our country.
Sarah, there you have it. He said they're going to go up, they're going to go down. We have to rebuild our country. That is really, again, what I'm hearing behind closed doors, why the president is so dug in on this. But one thing that's been really interesting and what I'm picking up on, I know some other reports have said this as well, is not only with Wall Street, but also those on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue in Congress, a lot of people raising the alarm, not only about, obviously Trump's tariff policy, a lot of that is controversial, but also questioning whether there is a bigger strategy here. What is the long-term goal on this, and how do they really see the market stabilizing in the long term? Now, this was, of course, a question as well that many of those business leaders that the president met with yesterday had questions of. This is what one of them told our CNN's Jeff Zeleny. They said, quote, there was no new clarity or certainty on what that broader strategy is. Now, we are going to hear from the the president today. I'm wearing green. We're going to hear from as well when he meets with Ireland's Taoiseach, essentially their prime minister. I think you can expect a lot of questions on this because, again, the markets are going down. People are seeing their 401ks on a downward spiral as well. A lot of concerns and a lot of questions, and not a lot of clarity from this White House other than that they believe in tariffs and they plan to continue moving forward with them.